Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this virtual travel and tourism workshop. We're very excited to have two great speakers talking about the power of travel and kind of the state of the state and the state of Pensacola today. This is just another one of the activities that we have during National Travel and Tourism Week. It's really been a great week of celebrations. Just yesterday, we had our Hospitality Hero Luncheon, and we had Don Welsh, President and CEO of Destinations International, in attendance, and spoke a little bit about the national perspective. As part of National Travel and Tourism Week, all of you that have joined us today on our virtual travel and tourism workshop will be entered into, oh, we got a little feedback from someone, but you'll be entered into the Staycation Grand Prize. So every time this week that you've been participating in one of our activities, you're entered into that drawing. That grand prize package includes a overnight beach stay, restaurant gift cards, attraction vouchers, and more. So if you're looking for an additional opportunity, like Ray Palmer was talking about, you can also join us yet tonight. So we have an industry happy hour, and we encourage everyone to come out and join us between 4 and 6 p.m. at Perfect Plain Brewery and Garden and Grain. It's our way of saying to the hospitality industry workers, this one's for you because the first drink's on us. So if you're in town, please join us, and you'll get another entry into the grand prize. We also have tomorrow, the sign up for that is finished, but we're doing our Tourism Gives Back Day. We're doing a beach cleanup at Pensacola Beach, and we hope that this will be the beginning of more of these type of opportunities and community involvement going forward. And also tomorrow, we're doing open house at all three of the visitor information centers. So Pensacola Beach, our office here at the base of the bridge in Pensacola, and then Perdido Key. So stop in and say hi, and I think there'll be a treat waiting for you if you do. And with that, let me see. I don't know if Dana been able to jump on board yet.
I am here.
All right. Well, very good. Well then, Dana, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go through the introductions here real quick. Like I said, we're very excited to have Dana Young, President and CEO of Visit Florida, with us. As Visit Florida's President and Chief Executive Officer, Dana Young, she leads Florida's official destination marketing organization, and in partnership with its board of directors and the statewide tourism industry. Throughout her career, Dana has served in leadership positions working to cultivate and protect Florida's exceptional business climate and world-class quality of life. Dana served in the Florida House from 2010 through 2016, rising to majority leader for the 2015-2016 legislative sessions. And in 2016, she was elected to the Florida Senate, where she represented parts of Western Hillsborough County for 2 years. Dana was appointed to the Visit Florida position by Governor Ron DeSantis in January of 2019. And in addition to her duties as president and CEO, she is a member of the U.S. Travel Association's Chairman's Circle. A little bit more about Dana. She is a sixth-generation Floridian and was born and raised in Tallahassee. She received her undergraduate degree in political science from Florida State University, and in pursuit of her interest in law and public policy, graduated from the University of Virginia School of Law in 1993, and she maintains a robust environmental law practice for many years. In her free time, Dana enjoys spending time in natural Florida and tarpon fishing with her husband, Matt, and two daughters, Alexandra and Carson. Following Dana, we'll have a presentation by Downs and St. Germain Research. Joseph St. Germain, president of Downs and St. Germain Research, and Aaron Dinkle, senior project director, work together with us here at Visit Pensacola to coordinate our market research activities, all in an effort to better understand our visitation trends in the Pensacola area. Downs and St. Germain Research has been conducting research through visitor tracking studies, event economic impact studies, more recently a unique emotional positioning focus groups and asset testing, actually just to name a few. Joseph and Aaron used the collected data from the visitor tracking, accommodation metrics, event economic impact studies, and other sources to develop our reports. So we have actionable strategic recommendations for us to follow. Outside of the office, Joseph enjoys spending time as the marketing director of the Tallahassee chapter of the Mediocre Golf Association. And I think that is maybe something unique to Tallahassee. I don't know if we have a chapter here in Pensacola, but I could help with that. So let me know what I need to do. And Aaron prioritizes traveling and seeks to find the best food in every destination. So with that, welcome to both of you, and we'll turn over control to Dana.
Well, great. Thank you, Darian, and thanks, Nicole, and your whole team for putting this together and inviting me to be here with you today. We've got so many exciting things going on here in the state of Florida, and I'm just really happy to be able to share some of the exciting work that we've been doing at Visit Florida and to talk about the future. So first, let's talk about something that you all probably know very well, and that is why tourism is important to the state of Florida. Back in 2019, we had our 10th record year of visitation. Things were looking great. We had over 131 million people come to our state. They spent almost $97 billion and supported 1.5 million jobs. So 2019 was a great year. And we were on track for 2020 until we all know what happened. And so we here at Florida, well, I'll get to what we're doing in just a minute, but I want to get back to sales tax revenue just ever so briefly before I move on, because it's sort of the linchpin in the whole presentation. Sales tax is what drives a massive portion of our state budget. And roughly 15% of all sales tax collections in the state of Florida come from the tourism industry. So this is the #1 economic sector in Florida. And that is critically important because as we start our recovery, we need to beat the projections, and we need to make sure that we are positioning Florida to recover more quickly by getting our tourism industry back where it was in 2019. So U.S. Travel Association, you may have seen these numbers. They estimate over $500 billion in losses directly related to the pandemic in 2020. Direct travel jobs were roughly 35% of the overall jobs lost. And if you look at indirect jobs or total travel supported jobs, it's something like 65%. So the travel, excuse me, the travel industry was disproportionately impacted in a very negative way by the pandemic. It also had a very devastating impact on Florida. In 2020, we estimate that around 86.7 million people came to Florida, which is a vast, vast difference from 2019 when we had 131 million visitors. This was 4 straight quarters of decline, something that we hadn't seen in a decade, and a 34% overall decrease from 2019. International visitation was down. The official number is in the low 90 percentile, but our numbers, which take in a few other considerations, show that international is actually down about 99%. And this is significant because while they make up about, international visitors make up about 11% of the visitors to Florida, they stay longer and spend about twice as much per person as domestic visitors. So it definitely hits the bottom line when we lose our international travelers. As I mentioned earlier, since the tourism industry does generate the most sales tax revenue of any sector, the timing and the ability of the tourism industry to rebound is going to drive the timing of our state's overall economic recovery. So as Florida's official tourism marketing organization, Visit Florida, as you probably know, is funded by taxpayer dollars. And then we match all of those dollars 1-to-1 with private investment. So we are a true public-private partnership. This year, we received from the legislature a total appropriation of $75 million, which was $25 million more than we had last year. So we are very excited about that. And the timing could not be any better. We are subject every 3 years to a state produced ROI study and report. And just this January, we received that report, and we were very pleased because it found that Visit Florida, for every dollar we are appropriated by the legislature, we return $3.27 to the taxpayer. So it is a fantastic ROI. This is the highest we have ever received. And I don't know about you, but if I had a chance to triple my money in any sort of business dealing or at my bank, I would take it. So Visit Florida is a great investment for the state of Florida, and we're very, very proud of the work that we do. Since the beginning of the pandemic, Florida has had an amazing strategic advantage because we've basically been open. Thanks to the leadership of our governor, Ron DeSantis, Florida has been in market actively since last August, and I will talk about that in more detail in just a minute. We do have a long way to go, but I'm very pleased to be able to talk to you briefly about some of the very encouraging signs of improvement. And then I know Down St. Germain is going to get deeply in the weeds on these numbers. The numbers I have are from Destination Analyst, and about 87% of Americans plan to take a trip this summer. Vacation, visiting friends or relatives, business trip, or a conference, which we need to get more conferences. About 88% have at least tentative trip plans, and over 71% plan to take a trip in the next 3 months. So summer is poised to be a very, very active time all across the state. I know it is always a busy time for you all in Pensacola, but even areas where travel starts sort of slacking off in the summer, we're seeing absolutely no reduction whatsoever. In fact, I was in Key West last week for 2 days and toured several properties. They are all at between 97 and 100% occupancy. They have been there since last August. And the properties that I visited said that there was absolutely no signs of letting up. Their restaurants are booked out 2 months. You cannot get a reservation for dinner anywhere for the next 2 months at some of the nicer restaurants. So that is just great signs, because typically in the summer down there, it starts to slack off some. Another good fact is that families are leading the pack in groups that are ready to travel now. And with Florida being the #1 travel destination for families, that is fantastic news. So families, 40% of families are planning trips for June, July, and August. Again, summer is poised to be really great. According to the most recent statewide data available, hotel demand for April 18th, so it's a couple of weeks behind, versus 2019 was only down 7%. So we are really seeing these numbers start to come in line with 2019. I don't think anybody's ever going to be comparing anything to 2020 because 2020 was such an anomaly. So we're down 7.7%. The US hotel demand is down 15.6%. So we are well outperforming the national average. When we talk about domestic air capacity, this is huge. Florida's up 10%. And I think we've seen, you all have some new flights in your region. We've seen airlines moving routes from less desirable lockdown places to Florida, which is excellent for us. So we are up 10% in air capacity, but the US overall is down 26%. And then the last statistic I'll share with you is travel spending. As of March 2021, Florida is down 17% overall, but we are outperforming the US as a whole, which is down 31%. California is down 38%, and New York is down 52%. So we look pretty good compared to every measure that's out there. So let me talk a little bit about what we've been doing at Visit Florida, because we, of course, we're going to take credit for a lot of this travel demand, as we should. At the onset of the pandemic last March, we sat down, everybody was still in the office, the lockdowns had not occurred. It was nobody knew what this was going to be, and certainly nobody thought it would be a year. But we sat down with our team and said, look, this is going to impact travel over some period of time. We need to now start putting together a comprehensive, multifaceted rebound strategy for the state. and start tracking metrics and create like a scorecard so we can determine when we need to get back into the market. So we did that. And so that was March. In August, we got back into the market. We did something we had never done before. Our in-state campaign, we don't typically ever market in the state of Florida. And the numbers that I report to you for visitation are all people coming from outside of the state of Florida. We do not track travel of Floridians within the state. So those are all out-of-state visitors. And the idea was that people had been locked up, but it was Floridians were showing a desire to get out and at least travel within the state of Florida. And so we look to harness that pride that we have as Floridians and encourage people to see parts of their state that maybe they had not seen before. And it was a wonderful way to sort of get back out there and encourage people to start traveling. And then I think I have the video to show you. You may have seen it. It was on broadcast TV. So if you would roll that video, Leslie.
We wake up to it every day. The wonderment, the warmth. Where else can you just step outside for an epic sunset? Snap a postcard from your own backyard. Discover treasures on any old Tuesday. Enjoy a weekend where the world vacations. We live here because we love here. A place unlike anywhere else in the world is the place we call home.
That may look familiar to some of you. It was in market for about 3 months. And following that, we quickly moved in October, early October, to marketing outside the state for the first time since the pandemic started. So we were marketing in key drive markets, 700 miles from Florida. You see some of them on the screen. And the idea was to start getting people who were ready to travel, thinking about traveling to Florida. At this time, we were the only state marketing outside their state borders, and that continued for until about 6 weeks ago. No one else was in market at all. And so we were the voice that people were seeing over and over and over again. And it was just incredibly valuable as a strategic position for Florida as people were dreaming of traveling. Both of these campaigns were incredibly successful. They had a combined total of over 630 million impressions, 300 million impressions for the in-state ad that I showed you, and 330 million for the domestic ad. Whoops. Is that me? I hope not. Okay. And you can see the return on ad spend was massive, $134 to 1. Those ads combined created $62.5 million in gross bookings. And this is just on the Expedia platform. This doesn't include people who booked directly with hotels or, that sort of thing. So 1.14 million room nights sold on Expedia as a direct result of those two ads. So we're very proud of that. And now we've just wrapped up our winter campaign. We do this winter Sunseekers campaign every year, but we expanded it for the first time to the West Coast of the United States. So we're marketing in Washington, Oregon, and California. And we are continuing to this day to market those states for a wide variety of reasons. One is that they've essentially continued to be locked down. The weather has been poor. They have some internal unrest and homeless situations that are not attractive to visitors. And their typical vacation destinations for winter travel are Hawaii and Mexico, and other than ski destinations, but warm weather destinations. And those places were not very accessible. And so we are very excited to see the results of this campaign. I don't have any results yet because it just wrapped, but we feel like we are going to have a tremendous increase in visitors from the West Coast. We have a lot of new flights all over the state from these 3 states. So stay tuned for that. And then we are currently in market right now with our families campaign. And I'm going to show you this ad. We are, as I mentioned earlier, the #1 destination for family travel in the country. And because, again, we've been in market for so long, people have been dreaming about Florida, and we are honing in on this travel segment and encouraging them to plan a family vacation to Florida now. This ad has a much stronger call to action than some of our others, which were a little softer. And I want to show you this ad. This is in market now nationally. So in 48 states, it's a $5 million cable buy. It's on over 200 cable networks across the country. And you may have seen it.
It's time to let yourself explore the wide open beauty of Florida. Cast away your stress and soak up some peace of mind. Say yes to something new, like this, or this, or what's this? Enjoy a little freedom, a touch of spontaneity, and lots of sunshine. Make each day shine exactly the way it's supposed to. Whatever getaway you're imagining, you can make it real here. Because in Florida, it's possible.
I love that ad because the script is really what everybody's thinking right now. Let's get out, let's get rid of this stress, let's just do something different. And it's being very well received. And again, we don't have any indicators right now of how that's doing, but I imagine that it's doing very well. My husband was in Michigan and he saw that ad. So it's definitely playing in a lockdown state near you. And so looking ahead, international, I touched on this briefly, but it is important for us to get our international visitors back. And we have kept all of our international agencies retained throughout the pandemic. We've been doing a lot of virtual events with the trade in all of our key markets, like the UK, Germany, Canada, Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, a ton of virtual trainings for travel agents and so forth. So while there are obviously still travel restrictions in place, we have positioned ourselves to be top of mind in these countries so that the minute that the borders open, people are thinking about Florida and getting ready to come here. Over the past year, we've developed over 40 virtual events, including the first ever Florida Fest in the UK and other similar events in Latin America. In February, we hosted our Visit Florida's annual travel and tour operator trade show, which is Florida Huddle. We actually had it in the Panhandle last year. This represents the first large-scale global event that we did in this new virtual world, and we had over 800 participants. So it was hugely successful. And in the months ahead, we have trips, like in-person trips planned for Mexico and the UK. As soon as those Mexico's open now, and that'll be June. But then as soon as the UK opens up, we'll be going there to reestablish, in-person relationships with our partners there, and hopefully create some new partnerships while we're there. So the last thing I'd like to touch on is again, our budget. Thank you all. You all were a big part of the advocacy that not only saved Visit Florida last year, but then resulted in a significant increase in our funding. As the session just wrapped last week, we ended up not only with our $50 million base funding, but we got an additional, sorry, this is allergies, by the way, and it's just terrible, but an additional $25 million non-recurring funding. We also were the largest recipient of an EDA grant in the country. They gave out 15 million total, and we got 5 of that. So we're going to be rolling out the co-op opportunities for that May 21st. So hopefully you all will be able to participate with that. So in conclusion, I'm just so happy to be with you here today in National Travel and Tourism Week, and I am happy to answer any questions that you have. So back to you, Darian.
Well, great. I think We've got folks monitoring the chat. I'll take a look at that real quick. I'm not sure that we have anything. I just want to say congratulations, Dana, on the new budget and having $75 million to work with, and looking forward to see how that $5 million in EDA grants, how we can work with that going forward, because we also have a brighter future looking forward as far as our budget, including most recently the 5th cent in Escambia County enacted April 1st. And our county commissioners allowed us the first 12 months of that to come completely to the unified budget here in Pensacola, which includes visit Pensacola, Pensacola Sports, and ACE, which is our arts, culture, and entertainment entity. And so that was all good news as we look forward to working past 2019. I've been sharing this information through the first 6 months. We're up over 11% over 2019 levels. And as you indicated, this spring and the summer, we can see our forecast trends really exceeding 2019 levels. So it should be a really strong year for us coming back, that we'll be working hard to sustain into the fall and into next year. So with that said, Dana, thank you so much for your time and joining us today. And I look forward to seeing you at the DI Summit, CEO Summit in Tampa.
We will see you soon, and I hope you guys have a great day, and thank you again for having me. I'm gonna hop off now. I've got to run to another meeting. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Amen.
Bye.
Okay, now we turn the controls over to Downs and St. Germain.
Perfect. Okay, everyone can see the screen okay? Okay, perfect. Well, first off, I just want to thank you so much for having us here today. It's truly a pleasure to be with you all during National Travel and Tourism Week. I know Dana just hopped off, but I want to give thanks to her too for that presentation on all the things, the wonderful things that Visit Florida is doing, because it truly is having a great impact through this tough year that we've had, and even outside of that, Visit Florida's contributions has been really wonderful. So thank you so much. My name is Erin Dinkle, and I am a Senior Project Director with Downs and St. Germain Research. And I'm here with Joseph St. Germain today, the President of Downs and St. Germain Research, to discuss tourism in the Pensacola area. And our goal today is really to mirror what Dana had just talked about in terms of Florida tourism, but really bring it back home to tourism in Pensacola specifically. So as we go throughout the presentation, I really want to talk to you about the importance of tourism to Pensacola, get into the journey to recovery and where we've gone from the beginning of 2020 and where we're at now, touch on the emotional connection that your visitors have specifically to the Pensacola area, and then look forward to our future research initiatives, including our lifestyle segmentation study, which is currently in progress right now. So to show this, I really want to start with the big number, the one that everyone wants to know, the economic impact to the Pensacola area. And we can see that visitor spending in calendar year of 2020 generated a total economic impact of $1.4 billion to the Pensacola area. Now, this is a decrease of 10.6% from 2019, but the important thing to remember here is that decreases in 2020 were unfortunately unavoidable, and they did affect every destination, not just Pensacola, but all of Florida, the entire nation, the entire world. But having only a 10% decrease from 2019, all things considered, that's really something to be celebrated for Pensacola and how well you all have done as far as keeping that tourism and your visitors coming back throughout everything. And this economic impact was directly driven from your visitor spending in the area. Visitors who traveled to the Pensacola area in 2020 spent over $950 million. They spent this on their accommodations, the local restaurants that they enjoyed visiting and eating at, the attractions that they went to, different shops that they went to during their trip to pick up souvenirs that would help them remember the special vacation that they took in Pensacola area. That's where all that spending was coming from. And again, this is that 10% decrease from 2019. But when we consider that Florida travel spending overall was down 17%, that's a really great feat for Pensacola in terms of tourism. And through 2020, Pensacola attracted over 2 million visitors in 2020. The total amount of visitors, it was fewer than 2019, as to be expected. But when we look at the different types of visitors, we see that those who came and stayed with their friends and family, or those who just came for the day, were the ones that decreased. But those who stayed overnight in paid accommodations, whether it's hotels or motels or vacation rental units, they're the ones that stayed steady throughout 2020. So what this means is there were fewer total visitors, but the visitors who were coming and stayed in paid accommodations, they're the ones that contributed to your tourism development tax and to your overall room nights. And those visitors that stayed generated over 2 million paid accommodation room nights throughout 2020, which is a really great thing to consider when you think about tourism throughout the rest of Florida as a whole and other destinations like Dina mentioned earlier. And these 2 million room nights, they generated over $10 million in tourism development tax of 2020. And I know Darren just mentioned the approval of the 5th cent, and that's really gonna be very beneficial in the future as far as collecting tourism development tax, and you're really showing that strong comeback that you're going to be having in terms of TDT. Now, what we just looked at was the importance of tourism to Escambia County as a whole. But what does this mean for you as the individual? Well, all of these visitors coming in and the tourism is supporting just under 17,000 local jobs in the Pensacola area, and that's just in 2020. And this in turn generated over $473 million in wages and salaries to people all across the Pensacola area. So to put this a little more plainly, for every 122 visitors that come to the Pensacola area, that's supporting one additional job in that area. And to put that a little more plainly, anytime you're at a beach or an event or a festival and you see a crowd of visitors, that's supporting a job for you, a job for your neighbor, a job for your friend, for anyone. So they're really having that direct impact onto your community as far as jobs and wages and salaries. And for those of you that don't work in the tourism industry, like a hotel, a restaurant, or what have you, why should tourism be important to you? You're not in the industry, you're not directly affected by it, but you really are. All of these visitors that are coming to the Pensacola area, they're saving every single local resident $1,162 in their household every single year. So you don't have to be working in the tourism industry to feel that effect and the benefit of visitors coming to the area. So I want to talk about the journey to recovery, and this journey has been a bumpy one for Pensacola, not only from the devastating effects of COVID, but also from Hurricane Sally that unfortunately hit in September and took a large toll on the beach community. But as we go through this section, we will see how far Pensacola has come and really the positive forecast that we have to look forward to in the future. So overall, 2020 accommodation metrics have fared pretty all right. We can see the occupancy leveled out at 60%. Room rates were just over $109, accumulating in a RevPAR of about $65.60. But I want us to take a deeper look into the highs and lows of 2020 that brought us to where we are today. So right here we have a graph of occupancy starting from the beginning of 2020 all the way up to where we are right now as of March of 2021. And I want to take a minute to point out what's happening in each one of these quarters. And when we look at this, we want to pay attention to that green line. That green line is where we are in our current year as compared to the previous year. So when we look at January through March of 2020, we see that's pretty similar to 2019, and that's before the onset of COVID. As we move into April through June, that's where we start seeing the most significant impact from COVID. And that's particularly through the month of April, where many of the units were closed. That's where most people did not feel safe to travel. And we see that really significant impact there, and probably the lowest low that we have seen so far. Now we can see that starting to increase through the end of the summer. After Memorial Day is really when we started to see those peaks going up and continuing upward. And we see that finally cross over and surpass the previous year in terms of occupancy in October through December, and continuing up in the most recent months in 2021. So, and the reason why we use this type of graph is so you can really see the difference between where we were at the lowest low in April through June of 2020 and how that gap is slowly closing throughout the year, and then finally crossing over because we have already surpassed the previous year occupancy. We're showing that positive trajectory that we're going on, and how tourism is really bouncing back in the Pensacola area. And we see that same shape in this chart when we look at the room rates across the Pensacola area as well, showing that biggest dip in the April through June time period, creeping back up a little bit, and then around October through December, crossing over and surpassing the previous year's levels. And you can really see that we're having a lot of improvement in the most recent months of this year in 2021. And then again, we see that same exact shape in terms of how many room nights are generated, with the lowest low in April through June of 2020, a really big peak through the end of summer, and then crossing back over, and we are maintaining levels that are higher than the previous year all the way through January of March of 2021. So as we look at air traffic, it's no surprise that air travel has taken a big hit through the pandemic, and this has been a part of the tourism industry that's lagged behind the rest. As visitors adjusted their modes of travel, many opted for driving over flying, and it makes sense as Pensacola is the perfect drivable location for so many visitors. You can see that air traffic hit its lowest low in April of 2020 with a 94% decrease from the previous year. But it slowly crept up over the course of the year. And we see that dramatic jump when we look at March of this year, 2021, where it actually increased about 55%, surpassing the previous year. We are not quite at a level where we're surpassing 2019 yet, but what we're looking at here is a huge indicator of a positive shift in consumer sentiment towards travel and how comfortable they're feeling now taking a flight to the Pensacola area and not necessarily only going if they can drive there. So this is a really positive indicator in this most recent months. And as we saw those jump in air traffic, we also see this in the most recent accommodation metrics as well. So what we're looking at here are the accommodation metrics for January through March of 2021. And we can see that occupancy is up 18% from the previous year. Room rates are up 12% from the previous year, and RevPAR is up 33% from the previous year. And as Dana mentioned earlier, 2020 was quite the anomaly. So trying to compare this year to last year doesn't quite make sense. So if you take a look at this blue column here, we can see the comparison of this year to 2019, and we still see those similar levels of increase. And that is just another positive indicator of the tourism industry bouncing back in the Pensacola area and how well tourism is going to be in the future for the rest of 2021. You know, we started to see these increases in October through December, and really this is the first quarter where we see this huge jump and these positive increases in travel all the way across the board. And that brings us to the road ahead. You know, I just showed you that we have some really positive indicators for a brighter tourism year. As Dina mentioned earlier, travel sentiment is looking up in so many different ways. Visitors are optimistic, they're excited to travel again, they feel safer to travel, and most of them have vacations planned in the near future. They're ready to get back out there, they're ready to go enjoy their annual family vacations, create those memories again and bringing it back home with them so that they can cherish it and really kind of get back to those annual routines that they missed so much over the past year. And these most recent accommodation metrics have showed the promising recovery that's on the horizon for the remainder of 2021. All of this is to say it's in no small part due to the efforts of Visit Pensacola and your visitors' deep emotional attachment to the Pensacola area specifically. So I'm going to hand this back over to Joseph so he can talk a little bit more about that emotional attachment that your visitors have to the area.
All right, and thank you, Aaron. And I just love to hear what Aaron and Dana have had to say in terms of all the positivity moving forward. This is particularly has happened in the last couple of months where we really, not only across the state, but in the Pensacola area, really things starting to get back to those previous levels. And it's so important, as Dana mentioned, tourism industry is so important, not only in the state, but to the Pensacola area. But we wanted to highlight some of the other work that we were doing, and some of that was a unique emotional positioning study, the goal of which was to understand the best ways to market the area, what resonates with your visitors from a emotional perspective, and then how we can differentiate that from some of your competitors. In this study, we did 8 focus groups in Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, and Nashville. Not only were those chosen because of looking into your visitation patterns, it just, those were some popular areas. We also saw a lot of those names in what Dana mentioned earlier in some of their marketing. And then we also did a follow-up survey with visitors from 14 top markets, and then also talked to some of the locals. The reason we do a study like this is because people select coming to your destination because of the emotions and feelings they associate with a visit there. It's similar to many products, and I could give you a lot of examples. My best one for me personally is like the Jordan brand. I like to wear Jordans because it makes me feel cool, makes me feel fresh. Frankly, it makes me feel a little bit younger. But you know, so it's something, but it's something that they make me feel. So that's why I'm selecting that product. And it's a similar idea to selecting a beach destination or a vacation destination. And throughout all this, you will see your visitor loves the blue-green water, the white sandy beaches. They feel relaxed, but also welcome and unrushed and unscheduled, and they can truly be their authentic selves. As we start going through the results, the first impressions of Pensacola are the white sandy beaches, clear blue-green water, and the relaxation they feel when they're here on a vacation. And I should say all of those, all 3 of these things are inherently linked, but we are going to show you a few videos from our focus group. So don't just take my word for it. I guess if you show me one of the clips, please, Aaron.
The first time I touched that white, soft sand, I mean, it's like flour. And then when I saw the calm, blue, clear water without these crashing waves that California has, that's why it's good to surf. Unlike Pensacola, it was just a sense of peace and calm.
From everything, and you see the water and the beach and just the whole environment. It's like you're free, you're away from the whole city life, cars.
Well, to see the water first, because isn't that the main draw as opposed to all this other kind of stuff?
The first thing that comes to mind when you think of Pensacola Beach, Perdido Key as a place to vacation.
White sand beaches.
Beautiful blue water, white sand beaches.
Turquoise water, beautiful white sandy beaches.
How about you, Sean?
I put beautiful clean water.
It's just so nice to wake up and look across the beach and out of that clear blue water. I just find it very appealing.
The first time.
I absolutely love when he says it's just like flour. It's just such a great quote. And I mean, one of the things that we don't want to take away from is your destination has a lot of great things to offer, from attractions and restaurants and food and what have you. But I don't want to ever take away and make sure you understand that darn beach, that's the draw. That's what's making them feel what they feel. And as we move that along, I want to talk about the primary feelings. The number one feeling that they feel when they vacation in the Pensacola area is relaxed. And that may mean calm, peaceful, off the grid, serenity, worry-free. But also let some of your visitors kind of help them explain how they feel when they're in the Pensacola area.
Relax, with an emphasis on the word relax, lack of stressful surroundings, and then when you mentioned the emotion as a bliss, I'm trying to get, I can sit there and just unwind. I don't feel the stress that I would in other places.
You're just happy because you're there with your family, you're making memories, you're relaxing. You can, I don't know what emotion would be forget your troubles, but you can kind of leave your world behind and not have to worry about stuff that's going on at home or your job or anything. You can just chill out.
If you're like sitting on the beach, something about sitting on the beach, especially if it's like not very stressful, it's just very like calming, and you feel like centered and calm, and you can kind of just, it's almost like your mind just kind of gets away from all of the things you have to deal with.
Relax.
Yeah, that's in a couple of short clips, that's almost 100 different ways of saying relaxed. And the one thing I don't want to go too far away from, relax is so important, but as I mentioned earlier, relaxed and the beach and the sand are linked together. Ultimately, when people see in your marketing the beach or the sand or what have you, that is the physical manifestation of relaxation for a lot of your visitors. So that is why, even though when we talk about the emotional connection, part of it, of what we're going to mention, is you need to focus on that beach and the sand, because that does come with a feeling. Even though it's a thing, it brings that emotion immediately. But those feelings aren't the only thing your visitors feel when you're here. They also feel happy. They feel accomplished. They feel nostalgic, rejuvenated, energized, but also free. It's unscheduled. There's not a lot of decisions to be made. And this is one important thing that I'll touch on in a bit, on how it's a great way to differentiate from some of your competitors. But let's hear from your visitors one more time.
I get 400 emails a day, and I don't look at them when I'm in Pensacola.
I want to just sit in the sand and relax and not have to be somewhere at a certain time. And
wonderful.
Release.
Wake up when you want, eat when you want, do what you want.
And in another exercise, we have your visitors describe Visit Pensacola as a person. The Pensacola area as a person. And the reason we do that is some people are very, very good at articulating how they feel, and other folks, it's a little bit harder. So by personifying it, it allows us to dig a little deeper to get a sense of what they feel or what they think and what resonates with them about the area. And a lot of your visitors, it starts with the area is unpretentious. It's approachable, it's confident, it's natural and genuine. There's just not a need for fancy things, but it's also welcoming. It's inviting and it's accommodating, but it's also social. Pensacola, the person, likes having a good time, and that's not the only things people said, but that's where a lot of them ran around. And let me just read a handful of some of the things that they wrote down while we did in the groups. Sandy is a youthful lady. She's friendly, inviting, and welcoming to talk to. Her style is retro surfer. She's wearing board shorts. Hair is always pulled back and flip-flops are mandatory. She's attractive, but in the most natural way. She's easy to talk to and attentive when listening. Her strengths are in her relationships. And another one, Pops is a kind-hearted and welcoming soul. He values family, friends, taking care of others, and doing the right thing. He is quite social and always enjoys making others happy and loves to spend time with everyone. His weakness is that he can't say no when there are good times to be had and spends too much time socializing and staying up way too late. And finally, one more, Pensacola. She's pretty, but not lathered in makeup or concerned about what others think. A combination of Southern charm and a dose of an athlete. She loves being in the moment and getting totally unplugged and fully immersed. Again, these are words that your visitors said when describing the area. So we're really trying to help you understand what they feel. Ultimately, there are 4 positioning elements that stem from this study, which should be the core of the unique emotional positioning. The first, as I mentioned, white sugary sand, blue-green water, that does a couple of things. Number one, it differentiates your destination from most destinations in the world. The only other area who can even come close to what you have to offer is some of the other Gulf beach destinations, and we'll get to that in a little bit, because visitors have told us they love a lot of the Gulf, but that is what resonates. And also remember that sugar sand and the blue-green water is that physical manifestation of a feeling of a relaxation, which they really want to do when they're in the area. That said, there is also a way to differentiate the Pensacola area from your Gulf Coast neighbors, and frankly, the rest of the world as well. But Pensacola is a place to be yourself, comfortable, and it's also an unscheduled experience. There's no agenda. I don't have to be here at 2 and then here at 6. We are just chilling out and having a great time. So the goal of the positioning moving forward will be to capture this beautiful environment that you have and include these intangible elements such as be yourself and unscheduled. So you can be yourself and have a vacation that's unhurried and unscheduled. And then finally, we're just going to touch on what's next. I mean, that's kind of one of the fun things about this day and hearing about Dana and how things are looking going forward, and how Aaron mentioned all these positive things of where we're going as we're starting to see trends get back to previous levels. Right now, we're currently working on a lifestyle segmentation study. And for those of you who have already participated, we appreciate it. But we are right now, that data is being processed. But the ultimate purpose of the study is, in that previous research that I just mentioned, the unique emotional positioning focus on understanding what to say, because we need to know what resonates and differentiates with our visitors. This next study will focus on where to say it and to whom. What the study is going to help us understand, we're able to find some U.S. households that have a higher predisposition to visiting. So we want to know where those people are located. But it's not just where they're located geographically. Another thing that we had to tell from the study is we had to tailor campaigns to not only meet them where they are geographically, but also to see where they are in print, in digital. For example, Aaron and I right now are in the same office. And so we are both at the same place geographically. But when we both go online later today, when I'm putting off some other work, we're going to be going to different places digitally. And we want to be able to find out where your visitors are so we can meet them in a geographic perspective, but also where else we can meet them in the digital space. Finally, I just want to say thank you so much again for having us on National Travel and Tourism Week. It really is our pleasure to work with you, the Visit Pensacola team. And frankly, it gives us an additional opportunity to spend more time in your wonderful destination. So thank you again, and we will open up if anyone has any questions. As people are getting theirs together, Darren, I'll take your question about the Mediocre Golf Association offline. I'll follow up with that. I have some good information for you. But if anyone has any other questions about the research, I'm also happy to be here.
So maybe you can answer this, Joseph, and I know the answer. We started off with the unique emotional positioning study, and that led to the current study. And I think we're looking to get that information back sometime by the 1st of July, and then we'll be looking to release more of that information either later that month or early August. I think it's our timeline. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that timeline sounds about right. We use a third-party vendor to analyze the data, so we still don't have that back. Yes, getting it to you, but July 1 should not be an issue. Of course, if we get it done earlier, we will send it your way.
Yeah, I can't say how excited we are about honing in. And while sometimes we find things that we already know, it's always good to reaffirm, as well as identify, the way we should be talking about our destination to those visitors, and just let everybody know, while that's the primary draw, we are really looking at how we, as part of that booking funnel, where we introduce all the other great aspects of our destination, whether it's the culture and history, or the art side of it, sports, um, the amazing dining, and other aspects of like having a really walkable, engaging downtown. So that's in play, and we're also looking at how we do some micro targeting on some of the unique features that we have in our destination that not everybody can do, but there's certainly they're a good draw. So if we take a further look into diving as an aspect of the Pensacola area, which I think we have a tremendous assets in that regard, but we as an organization haven't spent a lot of time there, and we're looking at those opportunities as well. It's so exciting to see the great festivals and events that are coming back online. I do keep my crawfish necklace from the Crawfish Festival this last weekend handy, and so much fun. And just seeing more and more of those come up. We've got Pensacon, Fiesta, the Mardi Gras Carnival, all coming up here in the next month. So I agree. There's a lot to look forward to for our market.
And it looks like we do have a question. So
Great.
Maria, if you'd like to go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, guys. This is always good to get a nice feel of the statistics and kind of what's going on. So we really appreciate it an awful lot. And I know that always beaches are number one, always, and they should be, because that is our greatest asset. However, and you just mentioned, Aaron, that my concern, of course, is with the arts and the culinary and all those secondary items. And so when you're doing these mini charrettes and you're asking questions about, what makes them think of this, or what's the asset or whatever, are any of those secondary items included in on getting people's feedback about arts and culture, events, culinary, or is it always about, the beach or how it makes you feel, or are they all beach related?
In terms of the research from, especially particularly with the unique emotion positioning study, everything is open, so we're not like, hey, what do you think of the beach? And then what do you think about restaurants, what have you? So then it really becomes, we're trying to categorize what we hear. And to your point and Darren's point earlier, it's not that whether it's culture or the food or the water sports or anything else, it's not that those things are not important, because they are. We just, in a study like this, we just want to make sure, and in the full version, it's a little bit more in depth, but that's a much longer version, Maria. But it really is, the important thing there is just, we just want to make sure you don't go too far away from that, because that's really what's going to grab their attention. I mean, I even remember some studies that we've done where just the sound of the beach really grabs people's attention, especially like if you see a ad on television, or like before a YouTube clip that you want to watch and you're just hearing the beach, that just grabs people's attention, so they kind of see what's happening. So to your point, those are all included. It's just that was the center of the feedback was from there.
Right. And I get that. And like I said, that is absolutely our most important asset that we have, and should be the number one thing. I just, once again, just want to make sure that in the secondary messaging, that there is a follow-up for all these other things. Once you're sunburned, once, you're tired of the beach, once you're this, if it rains, is that it's always great to have the beach as our number one focus, but to say, hey, if, we've got other stuff too.
Just to add on to kind of what Joseph was saying, all of those other activities, the restaurants, the downtown, the arts, the culture, performances, events, all of those things are really great assets when your visitors are there in the Pensacola area, experiencing it in their vacation. So like you said, when they spend their day at the beach and they're sunburned and they are not ready to hit the sun again, they want to go downtown, have a wonderful dinner at one of the amazing restaurants. And those are great things once they're there. The beach is that main draw when they're searching for their location. So all of those things are so important to your visitors when they're there.
It's the thing that differentiates us from Destin, Fort Walton, the Panama City, whatever. We have a museum, we have an opera, we have a symphony, we have a ballet. They don't have any of that.
And so I just want to chime in too. So while the beach is our main advertising tool, and I see Alice is on the call, so if I say this wrong, you have to chime in. So it may be our main driving tool, but then the way that we can get them back to our website is by leading them with things like our restaurants and our festivals and our downtown experience. And so those are all of our layered additions that are then driving them to our website. The other thing that we're talking about doing is now, to Aaron's point, when they're in market, and it's not something that we've ever traditionally done, but how do we start talking to them more when they're here in Pensacola? Because it's not something that we usually do, but we think we should be doing that more to really start highlighting all of the different things that we have to offer. Because when they're here, we have the app. We launched that in June, and you've seen the efforts that we've been really making to get people to download that to start looking for things to do. But what else can we do? Do we start geofencing our hotels to tell them about the latest and greatest restaurants? Do we, start putting ads on Channel 3 to start running through while they're watching TV or hitting the news to see what the weather is going to be like that day? So what are the things that we can do locally to start talking to our visitors and hit up our residents to let them know of all the great things that are going on in their own city?
It's awesome.
Any other questions?
Nicole, you can close.
Great. Well, I just want to say thank you all for joining us today, and thank you for joining us this entire week. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a busy week and we're still going strong. So this afternoon at 4 o'clock, if you are in the area, please join us at Perfect Plain. We're going to be celebrating the industry with a happy hour, first drinks on us. And then we're encouraging you to just get out in downtown or Pensacola Beach or Perdido Key to enjoy the rest of our bars and restaurants happy hours. So if you can stop by, say hello, and then we encourage you to go and check out all of the different areas that we have, because there's a lot of them. You can download our app. As I said, there's my subtle plug times in one presentation to learn about all the other happy hours that we have. And then tomorrow we'll be out on Pensacola Beach for our beach cleanup. But thank you again for joining us. This has been a great presentation. We appreciate the partnership with Downs and St. Germain and Visit Florida and all of you as our partners. So I hope to see you tonight. If not, I will see you soon, and have a great day.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks.